Good evening and welcome to the Morrisville Borough regular meeting of Monday, September 15, 2014. I'd like to start the meeting with a moment of silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have roll call, please?
Dave Ravella.
Here.
Nancy Sherlock.
Here.
Fred Kerner.
Present.
Victor Cicero. We'll be a little late, he said. Jeffrey Johnson.
Here.
Corinne Conical.
Here.
Ted Parker.
Here.
Todd Sanford.
Here.
Debbie Smith.
Here.
Sean Kilkenny.
Here.
Tom Bates is here, and Robert is absent.
Next, we will have the hearing of the... Yes, please. We'll have the hearing of the public. The first gentleman is Ken Lyle, is that right? Okay. Just come forward, please, and state your name and your address.
Hi, Ken Lyle, 134 North Lafayette here in Morrisville. I just wanted to say that the Ryder School would make a great park. As far as I see it, it's a nice property. It's very convenient. I think it was made a school because it is so walkable for so many people. And if there's open space money available for it, it'd be a great time to get it done, because it's a one-shot deal. Once we lose it, if it goes housing, then we never get it back. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, it looks like Jamie Wasson. Is that W-A-S-E-N?
It's Whitson.
Oh,
Jamie Whitson, 134 North Lafayette Avenue. And I've lived here for 10 years, and I also agree that this should become a park. There is plenty of open space money available. People are willing to work on grants to also have money so that this can become a park. Part of it already is historical and should be kept that way. It's just evident if anybody walks by. I live 2 blocks away, or 2 houses away, and even though people are using it and technically it's trespassing, there's a need for the park. If boys are there today and they're throwing a football around, and other people have basketball hoops that are in the street, then there's a need right in that neighborhood for open space. So really sincerely hope that the council can consider this and everything that people are going to come up and say about open space and a park. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, looks like Barb Bertowski.
Good evening. I also live on Lafayette, 123 North Lafayette. My husband and I have been here for quite a while. Actually, he's a long life resident of Morrisville. And he didn't come tonight because he pretty much has given up on the possibility that things would ever change in Morrisville, which is very sad. Makes me sad because I haven't been here as long as he has, but I see what he's saying. So, yes, a park would be great. Anything but the eyesore of the M.R. Ryder building. Something definitely has to be done. That is, just about everyone's feeling if you go door to door. Also, if you were to consider beautification rather than a sports kind of a park, there would be numerous people that would be able to donate from their own garden, different plants and whatever. It probably wouldn't cost a thing to get it up and running and looking nice. One of my main concerns is the encroachment on Summer Street. Whatever is done, if, meets the council's approval, Summer Street needs to be protected. In fact, some of the people at Summer Street are getting very, very old, and they're saying, no offense. And no, I've had them say to me, we need some younger participants here. And really the only way to get younger participants is to make that a place that somebody wants to come to. A lot of the local schools, a few do come there, and they do a great job explaining things. We have a historian right here. She's terrific. And to tell you the truth, we need to promote that in our town. Otherwise, my husband's right, things will never change, and I don't want to see that. So, some thoughts to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick Rice?
Hi, Patrick Rice, 115 Cox Ave. A couple of tax-related questions as we get towards budget season. I'm just wondering if we ever considered a local services tax. It seems like something that could remove at least a small amount of the burden off of the property tax, which is so high. I did a little bit of homework and looking at the 2008 comprehensive plan that's on the Borough website. Only 11%, I think, of Borough residents work in the Borough, so they would be the only ones that would be impacted since it's a tax on workers and not on residents. I'm just curious if that was ever considered. And second, with the waste management fee that everyone pays that's separate from the property tax bill, I was wondering if it was ever considered to have that bundled in with the property tax, basically raise the property tax rate to compensate for the separate fee of the sanitation fee. I thought that a couple of benefits there might be, A, that would allow it to be part of the property tax, which is deductible on federal income tax, unlike the separate sanitation fee. And it would also cause the amount that everyone pays to be at least somewhat in proportion to the value and probably size of the property, as opposed to the single flat rate that everyone pays right now. So just curious what those thoughts would be on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before we go forward, there was something else we're adding to the, Ken, Jamie, Bob, and Patrick might need to come back up. This would be motion 10C. It's a motion to award the contract to Premium Excavating LLC in the amount of $89,550 for the Williamson Park storm drain reconstruction.
What was that amount again, Nancy? I'm sorry.
$89,550. Now, I thought
Yes, under a model responsible contractor ordinance. Under our model responsible contractor ordinance, it's a two-step process. There was a motion of intent to award at the last meeting. There was a review by our borough engineer sitting there. He reviewed it. This bid is compliant with the model responsible contractor ordinance. So now, once that review is done, the next step is to officially award the contract, and that's what motion 10C would do this evening.
Thank you. So any of those who came up, would they need to, do they wish to speak on this subject matter again? Premium Excavating, LLC, $89,550. And it's for that Williamson Park storm drain reconstruction. Okay, then I guess we can move on to the next person. Sharon Hughes.
Hello, my name is Sharon Hughes. I'm president of the Historic Society at Summersea. On Labor Day, I spoke with Steve Santisiero, hope I said that correctly, about open space next to Summersea, where the M.R. Ryder property is. I know that federal Congressman Mike Fitzpatrick told a joint school board and council meeting that he could get federal funding to take the M.R. Ryder school property down because Morrisville is uniquely qualified for these funds. and that there is Bucks County open space funds available that have not yet been allocated by other communities, so that it would not necessarily have to touch any of Morrisville's open space funding. But before Mike Fitzpatrick begins making any arrangements for federal or county funding, the Borough Council must formally ask for the funding. I'm sure you can have a meeting with him. I'm sure if you called him, he can call you. I have his current numbers. I'm sure you probably do too, but I do have his current numbers. There are only 2,500 registered National Historic Landmarks in the United States of America. And Summerseat's one of them. Morrisville is so fortunate to have that. A registered National Historic Landmark is a building, site, or structure that is of national historic significance and is officially recognized by our nation. It's rare that there are two such compelling arguments for one idea, and that's the open space in the M.R. Reiter School property. It would benefit Morrisville because open space is wonderful. It contributes to the value of the homes in the area, and there's many reasons. I'll let other people talk to those reasons. But another is it would enhance Summerseat, a National Historic Landmark. People from all over the world come and see this wonderful gift that was purchased by the Historic Society for Morrisville, the town, for the state. There's too much history to talk about Summerseat right now, but we're open for tours, free tours the first Saturday of every month from 10 to 1. You want to have the history, and it's very unique history at Summerseat. Second, two things I want to say really quickly. I want to thank the police department. Summerseat has a very active alarm system. And this time of year, I'm telling you, in October, late September, it goes off. And there's nothing in the house and no reason, and the police have been so generous. When it breaks my heart, they have to come up and it wakes the people up, but I'm sorry about that. Nobody's making it go off. And the police have come every time, and they're pleasant to me, and they check the house. So I want to thank the Morrisville Police Department for being so generous with helping us protect this landmark. But also, since it's October, I want to say we have two events coming up. October the 4th, come to Summerseat and meet South Jersey ghost researchers. They did an investigation in the house, and let me tell you, they found some stuff, and it will be talked about on October the 4th. Cost for adults is $8, for children it's $4. They're also going to be demonstrating some ghost hunting equipment, so that sounds like a fun night. Gives me the creeps a little bit, but it's a good fundraiser. Also, the 25th of October, we're having our annual haunted dinner. It's a delicious catered dinner, and then you're going to meet some of the characters from Summerseat. I myself play one of the characters from Summerseat. I'm fabulous. Just kidding, just kidding. But it's a lot of fun. And
What's the date again, Sharon, please?
October the 25th. It's a catered dinner, begins at 6 o'clock, and then you'll meet some of the characters of Summerseat. We portray the ghosts of Summerseat. It's really a way to tell you the history with a little bit of fun about it, and it does raise funds for this wonderful house. Just to sum up, it would be really good to have open space next to that. It would benefit us, it would benefit the town, and it surely would benefit the people. Thank you.
One last question.
Sure.
The person from South Jersey that's coming, what is the type?
Several of them.
And what are they, is it a group?
It's a group, they've been on TV. They go around investigating haunted houses. They've been on several of the morning shows.
Do they have,
They're South Jersey ghost researchers.
Do you have a price on the dinner?
It's, for the dinner, it's $20 to eat upstairs, and it's $25 to eat in the haunted crypt. Because that's where, that's where the spies who were going to be hanged the next day were kept. And I will tell you, it's always interesting that night during the haunted dinner. There's always something that somebody says happened. Personally, I don't eat them. But people like that. People like that. And this time of the year, we like to talk about, the character of Summerseat, because it has a lot of character if you're in the house alone. Thank you.
two things.
Sure.
If we get copies of that, once we put this up and running, we'll eventually be
Wonderful. Thank you very
something
much.
up on that. But I have another question. With the October 4th one, there's a child's price.
$4.
Is it $4? But is it child-friendly event?
It's up to you to decide. If,
All right.
some kids are so excited about it, and other kids
Okay.
not. So,
All right.
thank you.
Next, we have Bill Setzer.
Very nice. I like the new screens. Very nice. The comment I have, I'm Bill Setzer from 806 Brown Street, is my personal comment, although I'm with the Morrisville EAC and I was on the school board's repurposing committee for M.R. Ryder. This is my personal comment, and it is in regards to the M.R. Ryder property. I wrote it, by the way, because I know we have a time limit. I was not born or raised in Morrisville Borough, as so many residents of the borough can claim for themselves. I was, however, born and raised in Lower Bucks County, and I watched as the woods and farmlands disappeared beginning in the 1960s and was replaced with streets and malls and housing developments that rolled off a production line. All of that truly saddens me, as none of the natural wonders or historic buildings can be replaced. I think it is obvious that the fate of the old rubber mill and the mill pond at the corner of Bridge Street and Pennsylvania Avenues, which became a strip mall, was due to lack of vision and poor town planning. Crowding 13 or more new homes onto the property of the former M.R. Ryder School will ultimately yield a similar disappointing result for our town. A public park at the M.R. Ryder site is the best future usage for that property. A public park there will always continue to yield benefits to the community of Morrisville. The Open Space Subcommittee, which I belonged to, believed that it was also essential this spring that we sample the pulse of the public on this matter. For this purpose, we created a straightforward and simple petition and flyer, which was circulated between March 12th and April 1st, a very short period of time. In that short period, we received over 200 signatures from residents and taxpayers. We observed widespread support for our proposition and almost no public opposition. Interestingly, most people who signed the petition seem to already know their minds and their preference for a park next to Summerseat. Getting their signatures and endorsements for this cause required minimal persuasion on our part. The vast majority of citizens seem pleased to share their heartfelt support and enthusiasm for a great idea, a park at the old M.R. Ryder site. The school board has decided to sell the property and is perfecting the final details with the title company at this time. They are willing to sell it for open space or rehabilitation of the building or for residential development. They are not planning its future use. They're simply selling it. That will be up to you as our elected representatives to plan its future use. I urge you to use our remaining Bucks County open space money or some portion of it to acquire the property. This is a one-time opportunity that will forever change the future and improve character of our town. We can also turn to Congressman Mike Fitzpatrick, who has vowed to help us find federal monies to demolish the now unusable building. We are at a moment in time of immense good fortune that we can create for our town. The Borough Council needs to address this with the public and all concerned interested parties before some self-interested developer snatches the property from our grasp. I sincerely hope that the school board and the Borough Council will both make decisions which are responsive to the will of the people, which is for a park at the M.R. Ryder site. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jane Berger.
Good evening, Jane Berger, 90 West Maple Avenue. I'm here this evening to request the council address incorrect actions taken by the Morrisville Library Board that have violated the policies for use of the library community room and have not been approved by the Borough Council. Well, I believe the citizen board members are, for the most part, well-intentioned, but just misinformed. The Morrisville Republican Club, I believe the Morrisville Republican Club was discriminated against and wrongly denied use of the community room, while the Morrisville Democratic Club has now been granted permission by someone to hold their meetings in that room. And I know this is Sherlock is council president in a separate job. You're also chairman of the Morrisville Democratic Club. Our library is a jewel, and the community room really is the only public facility in the borough for use by our community organizations. We're taxpayers, and our tax dollars support our library. The library has also permitted rentals. Rentals provide much needed revenue. But there must be protection against those who would rent or use that facility and vandalize it. I understand why the library board has sought a moratorium on all use of the community room until they complete the review of the use policy and make their recommendations to the Borough Council for approval. But the council, 1 year later, still has not approved a moratorium or received any recommendations for the use of the library community room. In September 2013, I was informed by the librarian that at the September Library Board meeting, the Republican Club could no longer meet at the library. The board was reviewing the use policy. There had been substantial damage after a private party rental event. I was assured there had never been any problem with the Morrisville Republican Club use of that room, but no new rentals would be using the library at this time. I asked whether the Borough Council would be okaying this, and of course the librarian would not know at that time. The Republicans agreed to abide by the library board's decision. I only recently received a copy of the minutes of that September 11, 2013 meeting. Present were Nancy Sherlock, Nancy Voigt, Holly Brown, Judy Miller, and Mary Morse. Absent Victor Cicero and Fred Kerner, and that's Fred the councilman, not to be confused with his dad. I am sure it is a coincidence that the majority present were all registered Democrats, and a coincidence this action was being taken within 2 months of the November general election when we were electing a mayor and 4 councilpersons. I need to read from the minutes from that library board meeting in part. Mary made a motion, and it was seconded, that we instruct Diane, it's the librarian, not to rent to parties until such time that the fees and agreement are restructured. All agreed. It was also noted, minutes do not say by whom, that the Morrisville Republican Club cannot continue to meet at the library. Political party meetings are not permitted. Diane will call them to let you know. And we were given the information about not being able to meet, but not about because it's a political party. The minutes do not direct the librarian to contact the Morrisville Democratic Club or tell them they can't use the room if in the future they want to return. And now I've just learned that the Morrisville Democratic Club has returned to meeting at the library. It's even posted on their website. The minutes of the library board say nothing about a total moratorium or use by community organizations, only party rentals and the Republican Club. At that library board meeting, why didn't Mr. Sherlock correct that statement about political party use to say political parties can use the room? She, as a member of Borough Council, knew political parties could use the room, and in fact, the Morrisville Democratic Club, as well as the Republican Club, used the room over the years. Why didn't she inform the Morrisville Democratic Club now that they could not use the library community room if she really thought political organizations were not eligible to use the room? The minutes of the Borough Council indicate Mrs. Sherlock in favor of the Morrisville community and political organizations using the library community room at no cost. She made the motion at the January 1998 council meeting to allow civic organizations and political organizations to use the library once a month at no charge. There was considerable discussion that night, and that motion was tabled.
You almost done, Ms. Berger?
Beg pardon?
Are you almost done?
Yes, I am. It's big print, so I can see it. Just got 1 page to go, and I'm well under 10 minutes if you take off the 15 seconds from now. At the 1998 council meeting, a motion to consider revising the library rental rules was adopted 6-1. Sherlock voted for the motion. At the March 16, 1998 council meeting, the motion to adopt the revised rules and regulations for use of the library room was adopted. There was considerable discussion. Motion to table 4-4 tie broken by the mayor, not to table. Mr. Sherlock voted not to table. On the vote of the motion itself, that was a 4-4 tie, also broken by the mayor to approve, Mr. Sherlock voted to approve. At the April 20, 1998 council meeting, the council approved resolution number 447 as revised to resolution number 620, policy for use of borough-owned or operated facilities. I do not take issue with your votes on those. I actually agree with those votes.
I don't know that anybody's remembering all of what you just said.
That's why
Ms.
I'm
Berger.
reading it, and I will give you a copy so you
Okay.
may, when you're solicited
Because I will
to
be
do
addressing
research.
this is a completely.
Please, you're taking away from my
place.
note from my
I won't
10
take away from your time, I'm just
Okay.
telling you.
Thank you, and I'm sure tonight that
Finish.
it will be
You
clarified.
may finish.
The resolution states in part number 3, regulations for use of the community room shall be promulgated by the library board with the approval of Borough Council. And that motion also carried 6-2. If the library board records don't have the documents I referenced, it might be useful to provide them, perhaps make sure they're given to every board member, particularly as they're going to revise the rules, they need all the information. But based on the content of that September 2013 library board minutes, answers by council, some policies in place, and now the use of the community room by the Democrats, the council needs to take some corrective action. And I would suggest several things. Borough Council, take action on the temporary moratorium on rentals. Be clear who and cannot use them pending any changes. You know, it's a vote to approve or not approve or end it. Provide a time limit for the library to present their recommendations, whatever time you suggest. Certainly at least 6 months more, if not longer. They've been working on it for a year now, and I know it's a lot of work to do this research. But temporary moratorium should not go on indefinitely. Third, you can inform the Morrisville Democratic Club that they cannot meet, which would both be on the same keel, or if they are permitted to meet, as current policy says, you provide a letter to the Republican Club letting them know that it was wrong not to let them use the library from September 13th to present, or confirm that until there's changes, we do have the right to be eligible, and inform them that, if we choose to meet at the library room for a monthly meeting, we would be able to do so. Thank you very much.
Okay. Normally, I don't like a debate, but I really think this is necessary to make a comment here, Ms. Berger. First of all, our librarian misinformed you when she told you that. And at the last meeting, we told her to please inform you that it was wrong. The Democratic Club did not meet in the library for over a year because the policy stated that political parties could not meet there. Policy stated that. When we started to work on the bylaws, we were told by Chris Snyder at the county that the bylaws did allow us to meet there. So that was why we had come back. It was not, none of us knew that you had been informed until the meeting, I guess it was the 10th of this month, when Diane told us. She says, well, I sent a letter to the Republican Club. We had no knowledge of that. So we stayed away for over a year until it was determined, because when we said that we were stopping all activities, we only meant activities, party activities, outside parties. We did not mean, because I asked her, I said, did you stop the Girl Scouts? Did you stop the Railroad Club? She said no. I said, well, the clubs should not have been stopped either. So that's why we didn't get a letter. And we had no knowledge that you even got a letter that you couldn't go. So, and she was supposed to have corrected that since Monday the 10th.
Thank you for that. I appreciate
Sure.
that. And it's good to know that if the Republican Club has the desire to meet, that we can make those arrangements.
Absolutely.
Following procedures. I do wish, in terms of the policy that I mentioned, the other aspects of the policies in place by council and the resolutions that you shared with the library board, so they kind of like don't go off their own and make changes before they come before you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Helen Holland. If I'm saying that correctly, Holland? No? Okay.
Helen from Morrisville, Lenora Avenue. I have a question actually about this agenda meeting, because it always has an item number for unfinished business, but there never seems to be anything listed in unfinished business. So for example, 2 months ago in the July meetings, Dave Ravella mentioned that something had happened with council where they did not give him information on the police grant, and that money was lost because of that. And at the end of that meeting, you had said that you would look into it. And month after month, nothing has come from that. So I'm just wondering, what was that police grant, and why is it not listed in unfinished business?
The police grant he was referring to was outdated at the time, so we wouldn't have been able to get it anyway. But as far as unfinished business goes, it wasn't unfinished business that we could have actually acted on. So it's only unfinished business that we can act on. But if, otherwise, it's just information.
Okay, but
So-
there has to be a way that you come back to the public to fill them in on things like that, because for 2 months I've been wondering what money was lost to the public because of the grant.
Okay.
So if there's something you're looking into, I think you have to just come out and follow up on it.
All right, thank you.
And the second thing that I wanted to say is, I want to know if one person on council can speak for all of council.
Not unless I tell them they can. Like if I say, okay, you can speak for me, but that doesn't usually happen.
Okay, because on some of the websites, I'm not a member of it, but people are telling me that there's one council member that has a contest for a town motto, and they are saying that it's going to be put in front of the town. I'm not quite sure where, but when it comes over one of the bridges. And this is an initiative that council has not voted on. It's nothing that the public is aware of, and yet these backroom things are happening. And I just want to know, is this permissible or is it not permissible?
I think we can have Corinne, maybe she'll talk to that question a little bit later.
Okay, that's great.
Under,
Thank you.
Borough discussion. Next, Bill Farrell.
Bill Farrell, 347 North Pennsylvania Avenue. Before I speak, everybody knows what the CIA is, the Central Intelligence Agency. I've been coming here for a lot of meetings, and it's like going to the NIA. No information available. It's been that way for a long time, and other people have asked me about it. I have an article, Mr. Slater, from August 31st. It talks about the witch hunt, cornerstone, which I call it. There's a few items in here I'd like to get clarified. It says the court has sealed this, a quote from you, Mr. Kilkenny. The borough people were all given access to it, but the public will not be. My question is, but did somebody ask the judge to seal this, or the judge did it of his own volition? Because judges don't do that unless there's somebody requested. And the other thing it says, the federal court will remain jurisdiction for 2 years to handle any disputes that might arise from this litigation. I asked at the last meeting if all the strings were tied, and Mrs. Sherlock, you said, I hope so. Well, they're not tied because the judge has got 2 years to deal with this. And I would like to know who had this seal. Was it the judge? Did he do it of his own volition? Or did somebody request it? Okay, you can answer it later, maybe, or I'll get the NIA after you.
Okay.
The other thing is, you have codes in this town, and for some reason, sometimes you don't adhere to them. I'm talking about the audits. Less than 10,000, 1,000, less than 20,000, 2,000 dollars monetary. You paid $6,000, I believe, because of what's going on between this group and the controller. Is there any update on what's going on, or are we still in la-la land with that? I gotta check my notes here. Last month, related to this pipe that's busted down the island for $89,550, there was a waiting period of 30 days, I believe. At the last meeting, a motion was put on to change it to 28 days. And you voted on it because you want to vote it on awarding that contract tonight. If it says 30 days, and I'm not happy about that, and I told Mr. Kilkenny on his way out, I'm not happy about stuff like that. And then I also talked to Mr. Cicero. He said, well, it's only 2 days. I don't care. If the speed limit says 70 miles an hour and you go 80, he said, well, it's only 10 miles. Well, you people put these codes in and abide by them. Either that or abolish them. One or the other. But it's happened. You did with the controller. You overspent more money than you should have. And this thing. Where else am I? Let me see. I guess that's about it for the time being. People of Morrisville, elections are coming next year. I talk about the octopus, the 8 tentacles. There's some tentacles that I hate to say, gotta go. Like I said, don't sit home, drink your beer, and watch a football game. Next November, you got your primary in May, and November's your general election. Get out, it's time to vote. It's time to do something. Because the way we're going now, you know, I'm up here right now, and it's getting deeper. So to people in Morrisville, get out and vote. I'm not telling you who to vote for. Get your information, find out. Now that they got this brand new system in, finally, people out there will see what's going on, and maybe they'll realize this is not Disneyland. This is Devil's Island with what's going on out here. So other than that, everybody have a good night. See you next month.
Thank you. Patricia Shell.
Patricia Shell, 62 Grandview Avenue. My first question is the TV monitor on? I mean, we're being told that it is not being televised.
That it's not being televised?
No, it's not being televised.
It is being
It is now? Is it working now?
Is it on? We're having a technical difficulty
It
right
is
now.
not.
If you want me to turn the room off, I can, and then turn it back on. Go ahead.
Well, you're not gonna lose the recording already though, right?
Nah.
No, it just starts a new form.
All right, well, if you want to take a break in the recording,
So you're saying it's being recorded but not broadcast? He's gonna reset the system to make sure it's broadcast.
So it is not being
Just hold
broadcast?
up 1 second. And that way you'll be recorded in a second, so it's reset. He's gonna reset the system.
he's
That's
gonna
what
reset it to
he's gonna
make sure.
reset.
Is there someone that's calling home to see? Is it not going back up? Oh, here's it.
Back up and let her start the computer.
No, I'm sorry, broadcast.
Would you like to sign up for a public comment? We came in late.
No, what's your name, sir?
Glenn Grafe,
Len?
Grafe, Graiff.
Okay. There's 2 more people. Thank you for your patience. We're still working out some little bugs.
I'll make one for my important questions that I want televised.
Okay.
There were a couple footballs in the back. That was classic. Yeah. She's heard. Last one I just had was pretty fun too, you know, I had a lot of kids. Well, it's nice to see how fun it's like. A lot of we should take a page from this book. Didn't say nothing.
Just so you know, this meeting is being recorded anyway. Everybody will be able to download the meeting or view the meeting anytime they want on the internet. Every time the meeting starts or stops, it starts a new file. So if this is the meeting, let's say this was September 1st, it would start file 1, September 1st. If we never stop the meeting during the meeting, you'd only have one file. If we stop the meeting like we just did now, you'll have 2 files to the meeting. You'll be able to have these meetings for a whole year on the internet. You'll be able to download them anytime you want, download them to your computer. You'll be able to save them to a flash drive or anything you want. After a year, we'll delete that meeting. We'll only keep them for a year. It'll be on this computer, it'll be on the internet for a whole year. You won't miss anything, even if that wasn't broadcast, people will still be able to see it anytime they want. All they have to go to the internet. They can watch it anytime on their computer. They can download it anytime.
But that's on their computers, but we do have a lot of people that aren't not computer literate, and I mean, they just want to be able to turn on their station and watch it.
But this is a new system, we might have a couple bugs tonight, but after that, we should be okay.
It is on now.
Okay. Are we ready yet?
Comment.
Yeah, we're still in public comment.
Okay, I will wait till next month for some of my questions because I want to make sure everything's okay. I have a couple questions tonight though. I understand that there is going to be a student borough council position available. And I just have a question of who is being invited to interview for that position. From what I did read, and it said that it was open to Morrisville residents who are juniors and seniors in high school. But I have a real problem if not everybody in this whole community who is a junior or senior is invited to participate no matter what school they go to. From what I understand, only children from Morrisville High School have been invited. We have children that are homeschooled, we have children that go to private schools, we have lots of children that could be interested in this program. And again, you're discriminating if you're not including them all. So I am very adamant that I want to see every child who is a resident of Morrisville that is included in this program. It's only right and it's only fair. Okay, that's my first thing. My second question, or my second is, I want to just make a little correction to Bill Seltzer. I mean, he said something about poor foresight of the rubber mill. The rubber mill property had to be destroyed because it had a fire. Morrisville Borough had no intention of that building being gone until it was absolutely destroyed in a fire, and there was nothing that could be done to, restore the building. And I was on Borough Council at that time, and I will tell you, we had 10 plus developers in here, one after another. Unfortunately, most people are not happy with the strip malls that are downtown, but it is a downtown area, and we got to the point where something was better than nothing. But we wanted a downtown area to have some businesses in it, and that's unfortunately the only thing that developers would do. Okay, my next little comment is about these TVs. 4 TVs in a room this size, you feel like you're in a sports bar. I mean, again, I think it's a real waste of money for 4 TVs in this small room. It's just absolutely ridiculous that where our money is being spent, and I hope somebody doesn't get mad and throw something and break one.
Thank you.
Holly Harmon?
Holly Harmon, Prospect Avenue. Quick question came up as a result of the video. Will these be replayed on the cable channels for viewing later?
We're still gonna do it like we have in the past.
Okay, so it's going to be computer, internet and cable?
I don't know, we can discuss that, I just thought that we have the same,
No.
we have the same.
Why was
Okay,
it
so
replayed?
There's only one live broadcast at the time, is what you're saying?
It's live broadcast, and it's live broadcast over the internet, and then anybody can view it anytime they want on their computers, and they can download it anytime.
But again, if you don't have a computer,
You can go to the library and view it anytime you
isn't
want
that
to.
making a lot of work for people to see their public officials' meetings?
So,
It's recorded, I don't understand why it can't just be replayed
a couple
a couple
times.
times during the subsequent month or so.
Well, we'll look into it. We'll look into it.
I mean, that's the way it's been done before.
Yeah, so